Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Man Viewers podcast. Today, it's me and I have a guest with me joining today talking about Super Bowl prediction, what we think is going to happen, how these two teams got to where they are today. Can't wait for you guys to listen. Stay tuned. Also, subscribe for more content and to the podcast. I got my guest with me, Aiden Schubach. Aiden, how you doing today?
Great. How are you doing? Glad to have, glad to be on here.
Not too bad, not too bad. Let's get into it. So, as we know, Chiefs and 49ers in the Super Bowl. Once again, it's a 2020 rematch. Going into the season, people were saying Chiefs were, not the favorites. They were not the favorites to make it. 49ers looked pretty solid coming out with Brock Purdy coming back. And last year, that unlucky injury they had during the NFC Championship obviously sucks. Um, but honestly, 49ers this year started out pretty great. They were on a 6 game winning streak, or they went like 6-0, 7-0, and then they lost three in a row. And
Right, yeah.
people started to, question whether this is a team, whether this can be a team that makes it to the Super Bowl. But as we saw, during the playoff run that they had so far, Packers game really close. That came down to the wire, and then they had the Lions game. Obviously, came back in the second half. Uh, Aiden, what were your thoughts? Coming into this year for both teams, what were your expectations?
Yeah. Well, of course, Chiefs coming off, I try not to be biased. I'll try my best to, be a neutral fan, not show Chiefs bias. Yeah, just of course, starting with Chiefs, I'd say coming off Super Bowl, pretty high expectations, everything, the doubts last year about, the offense being the same and all that, just with Tyreek leaving. And then, winning last year, I thought they would have been favorites coming in. Obviously, didn't start that way, and
Right.
had a very slow off season. It was a lot different to watch than previous years where the offense was always the solution and the defense was typically the problem. But it's nice to be able to, not have to turn off the TV when the Chiefs defense plays now. So that's good.
Right.
And of course, the 49ers, they've got probably I'd say the most, I guess the stacked, it's probably the best roster in my opinion in the league. I think they've got pretty much everything of maybe them and the Ravens, I think would be definitely have the best rosters. I think, everything was set up for them. And so 49ers, I did think it was, I expected them to be the best in the NFC. And I thought it was surprising when they lost the three straight in the middle, but
Yeah.
I don't know what too much of the reason for that, but I'm sure there's something out there I missed, but yeah, I think
Yeah, they
that's
had
kind of
some
where we're sitting.
injuries, I think, with C-Mac and
Mhm.
uh, Debo, who was out for a while throughout the season. Kind of threw a lot of fantasy managers off. They were like, "Oh, should I trade him? Should I not?" That was a big thing. But yeah, dude, they look pretty solid down the stretch. Obviously, Brock Purdy's had a pretty amazing year so far this year, and Chris McCaffrey got Offensive Player of the Year last night.
Mhm.
Congrats to him. Um, but yeah, Chiefs. I mean, they had their struggles, man. They were off and on. So I'm pulling up some stats. They averaged 21 points per game, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
super
That's
low.
I think their first year when Mahomes was playing. I mean, I guess just more for reference. I think it was something like 30 something. It was like I know it was. I think it was above 30 points a game. I think they averaged. So this year was probably the first year they really took that offensive step back. But I
Yeah.
think they're starting to find it again. Hopefully for the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
Obviously their defense has been insane these last couple of weeks with Chris Jones and Legarius Sneed and all them pushing coming up clutch, for the wins.
Yeah.
It's a totally different team. I mean, this team is relying heavily on the defense, which obviously we have not seen in the past couple of seasons with Patrick Mahomes. Um, what have you noticed from the defensive side that's kind of pushed them towards the Super Bowl that they are in now?
Yeah. One I would say. Well, there's multiple things. I'll start with the more simple ones. I guess a lot of missed tackles over the years. It was pretty painful watching, especially like specifically when we had it was Tyrann Mathieu and who was oh man. Oh God, I can't remember. It was our other free safety. There was the kind of Daniel, yeah, Danny Sorensen. Yeah,
That's
that
right.
was
That's right.
that those were it was hard times watching that. And so I think now we've got competent running backs, I'm sorry, not running backs, linebackers. Of course, with Bolton, Gay, Tranquil, and it's we even got a rookie last year, I guess second year, Leo Chanel. They're all I would say very good at what they do, very sure tacklers, and of course, I think. D line starting to pick up. I think we were towards the back end on sacks and pressures last year. Actually, I think just sacks, but I know
Yeah.
we were towards the back end of sacks last year, and this year I think we're top 5, 10 in sacks. I don't remember. I don't know, how high, but yeah, I would say that getting pressure on the D line, and of course now that we have the cornerbacks that'll actually stay coverage and
Yeah.
not too many flags or anything. I think that's kind of been the solution so far.
Right. And obviously the offense, is, it's not, I mean, it's still great, but it wasn't the same as it was the last couple of years with
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes. And, looking at the stats, I mean, last season they had 41 passing touchdowns. This year they have 28. And then last year they had 18 rushing touchdowns. They only have 9 this year. So obviously you can see that, the little decline from the offensive side, but somehow, some way, I mean, they still made it through, and Patrick Mahomes is still, the best player in the league, in my opinion. What have you seen, you know, from the regular season to the postseason? What has been the difference between, you know, winning these games for the Chiefs?
Yeah, definitely one of the things was cutting down a lot of mistakes. So like a lot of course, like that Raiders game on I think it was Christmas Day when we
Yeah.
when we lost to the Raiders, it was we threw a pick six. I think we fumbled for touchdown recovery, and then 8 seconds later threw a pick six, and then
Yeah.
threw I think it's just stuff like that had happened all season. Players, of course, the receivers dropping passes, and
Right.
that's definitely one of the most frustrating things I've had to see. And then of course, passes going through the hands and then getting intercepted. It's just a lot of mistakes like that, I think, and
Right.
not really having Kelce was not playing so well. He was lots of drops kind of throughout the whole team, and so
Right.
Mahomes, Pat wasn't playing too great either. But I think now, they about this time, playoff time, they really really lock in, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
I guess I can't tell too much of specifically what it is. I think maybe just an attitude change and
Yeah.
a lot of playoff experience. They kind of I like to think they would know what they're doing by now. So help them win games like the Ravens and the Bills, stuff that I didn't think they would win. But
Yeah.
I'm glad at least that we're at now, and so it's definitely better than where I thought we were heading at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So wherever you're watching these games, what were you expecting, like with the Bills game, the Ravens game? Were you expecting them to win? I mean, obviously it was kind of they were the underdogs in both games. Which one were you most nervous about?
I would say easily Ravens a lot more. Of course, I thought the Bills. I thought it was a good. Maybe we had a slight. Actually, I didn't even really think we had. I thought it was a dead kind of 50-50 split. 'Cause they were playing at home, of course, too. So
Right.
that's always pretty difficult to play at. An opposing team's home in the playoffs. But I think the Ravens. I really thought it was like a you know 35-65 chance. I think there's like 35% chance Chiefs win on that night. It's
Yeah.
definitely happy when they did win that because I was it was going to take a really really good showing, I think, and a pretty good game plan, which I think second first half offense looked great, second half offense not so great, but I'm glad
Yeah.
the one thing that's been consistent is at least our defense. So gotta give him a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. Steve Spagnuolo, man, he's one of the best,
Yeah.
defensive coaches in the NFL right now. You know what? So Rashee Rice, this guy comes in. I wasn't really expecting much from him this year. I don't know if you were either.
Yeah.
Uh, Rookie out of SMU comes into the season, has one of the best rookie wide receiver seasons in Kansas City history, I think. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? What did he bring to the team? And what were you expecting from him before the season started? Like, did you expect him to be the number one wide receiver on the team besides Travis
No, I would
Kelce?
say, yeah. I would say I expected him I mean, eventually be a one or two. I don't know if one exactly the first year, but I think I know at the beginning of the season, I was, of course, you expect a lot from rookies, but at the same time, last year was the year we took Sky Moore, and so I had
Right.
a good amount of faith in him. But I think after seeing that, this, he thought we all thought he would kind of be coming into that wide receiver one or two role, him or Kadarius, and it kind of was a letdown this year. So I kind of wasn't really expecting too much out of him, this
Yeah.
year, of course, and Didn't really expect a lot of most of our receivers to be fair. I actually have a Kadarius Toney jersey that I bought off from China,
Uh,
man, and I bought that at the end of the Super Bowl last season, thinking
Dunk.
this would be his year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but yeah, we'll wear it for the Super Bowl.
Okay, I
But yeah,
like it. I like it. So, Kadarius Toney, he obviously, I think we were talking like at the fantasy draft. We were both saying maybe this guy, he might be like one of the underdogs coming in. Like he might be one of the best players, one of the sleepers, we were talking about. And
yeah,
obviously, it didn't pan out as well as we
yeah.
thought. What's kind of been his decline? I mean, obviously, with the Giants, everybody hyped him up pretty big, and then last year in the Super Bowl came up clutch. I mean, what happened? What changed, do you think?
Um, Well, I would say first Tony. He always has the injury. I guess the injury bug is what a lot of
Right.
people call it. He's very easily injured. Whether that's his fault or not, I don't really know. But I would like to think that it's the start all pretty much of all the last season we traded from was majority of it was injuries, and then so we had to really limit him until the Super Bowl when we kind of let him go play. I think without a time restriction, or I guess a snap restriction. But this year,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it definitely not very sure-handed. I would say he's really an all or nothing type player. It's like if you're he's the attitude not too great either. I would say, but I would definitely think that I guess he's got kind of I guess there was a clip of him saying that he could be a wide receiver one if he got the ball, but I guess that so they kind of implying that it's kind of on the Chiefs for not getting him touches and all that. But
Yeah.
I'd say one of the things is very not very sure-handed.
Yeah, obviously he had that big mistake in the Bills game that we all saw. Obviously,
Yeah,
a lot of memes came out of it. A lot of things that people were saying like Darius. Maybe that affected him in a bad way. Maybe it didn't. I mean, obviously, I think last game against the Ravens, he was inactive, and
yeah,
then he came out and he said, I was
yeah.
fine, I could play, but they just
I,
didn't. You know,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I guess about the Ravens game last week. Kind of, I guess, somewhat of a Ravens fan. Would you say?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say slight Ravens
Okay.
fan.
All right. Because I know you're. Is it Browns fan? Are you Browns number one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. So all right. But as I was thinking, I'd say probably you know more about the Ravens than I would know. But I was gonna ask you kind of what you thought about the game last week and how, I guess, what kind of happened, or I guess kind of what
Right.
went wrong for them. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been watching a lot of, First Take, Stephen A,
Mm,
ESPN and
mm,
stuff, and what they're all saying and what, I believe honestly is that they just didn't run the ball enough. I mean, they obviously had the number one
sure.
rushing attack in the NFL. I mean, coming into the game, why wouldn't you rush the ball 30 times? I mean, why wouldn't you do that? I mean, why would you only rush the ball 6 times and, have 40 something pass attempts? Like Lamar's a great player. Obviously, he's a two-time MVP now, but why would you have him be more of a passer when honestly he's more of a runner, in my opinion? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
could have done a lot of RPOs, in my opinion, but it's. I mean, I wouldn't blame the coaches. I mean, I would blame honestly, it's the coaches and the players' faults because Lamar Jackson didn't play great. Coaches had bad game plan, and it wasn't a good mix of the two. And honestly, I just had a hunch that Chiefs would pull out. I thought they would, come through and win the game because it's Patrick Mahomes, dude. I mean, you can't beat him by himself. It takes a full 53 man roster to beat that guy. So it's I mean, it was a tough game to watch. Obviously, it was a low scoring game. No offense in the second half from either team's mistakes. Zay Flowers with you know, the
Yeah. The
the
costly
the costly penalty and
touchback. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
And just small things like that. And then passing it to Isaiah Likely with three guys on him. But
Yeah.
the bad thing was though is that he had his hands up. Like he was like, dude, I'm
I
wide
do.
open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
There was
can't
there was the call, I think I think it was Isaiah Likely. It was a different one where he kind of got yanked. I saw the clip. Yeah, he kind of got
yeah,
yanked on. It was like fourth quarter. And I was like, yeah,
yeah,
I was like, there's sometimes I try and be, pretty fair and biased. There was definitely a couple, I'd say, at least
yeah.
that those two of note. I think I don't know. I think a lot of the other personal fouls and stuff that set them back. Like there's some roughing the passers. I'd say a lot of their loss was on penalties as well.
Yeah,
A couple I would say that were definitely missed, and then I would say there were definitely some that were on them as well for
yeah,
they got a bit out of hand at times. I mean, of course, you can make the argument to let them play or the taunting and all that, but I
yeah.
guess as it was called, a lot of it was kind of lost on the penalties and of course the touchback as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people talk about the refs this year. Obviously, it's been a bad year for the refs, I think, in my opinion, and I know a lot of fans don't like them anymore. I mean, just with the penalties and then the taunting and the QB, what's it
The rough
called,
and passers and all that.
roughing the passer call. Like, I mean, it's been a bad year all around for that. But you know, Ravens, they looked amazing coming in. Like they had the second best roster, I would say, behind the 49ers. And, OBJ obviously has a lot of experience, won the Super Bowl 2 years ago with the Rams, and then he had the amazing defense that kind of carried my fantasy team the entire year. Uh, but I mean, it
Yeah, I
just,
forget about that.
yeah, it just, I mean, the whole team just kind of collapsed, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
mean, how are you feeling throughout the game, like watching it? Do you think the Ravens were you thinking the Ravens could have came back or not?
It's one of those games where we took the lead early and it was like the longest, I guess, and then when we went to half and it was like 17-7. That was the
Yeah.
longest, I think, second half I've ever watched because the Chiefs offense was four or three and out and three and out
Yeah.
again. And the defense was really having to make sure, like really having to, lock it
Yeah.
down and make sure, no mistakes, anything. So it was a very slow 30 minutes of gameplay, of straight, you know, game. And I was definitely afraid they would come back, but I think towards the end when they just couldn't get anything rolling, it was
Yeah.
kind of more apparent that they didn't really have it this game to in them to beat whatever was beating that
Yeah.
beating themselves. I guess they didn't really have the ability to get around that, and so a
Right.
lot of the self-inflicted wounds once again. But yeah, I was glad to see that the Chiefs won. I did not think it was an easy win though. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And obviously the big story all year is, I mean, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. I mean, just
Yeah.
those two
Yeah.
alone, having Taylor Swift be a fan of Chiefs now, were you happy with that? Were you sad? Were you mad? Like, what were you feeling?
I mean, to be completely honest, I was not a big Taylor Swift guy. As I didn't really
Right.
listen to, as in like I don't listen to much of her
Same
music.
here.
I wasn't
Same here.
necessarily a hater, but
Yeah.
the Swifties I think are a bit, it's a bit. I don't know if it's crazy, but there are some crazy Swifties I would say, and so probably doesn't give a great look to all the people who are Taylor Swift fans. So I didn't typically say I would be a Taylor Swift fan, and not that I really am now, but I guess yeah, it's
Right.
definitely everywhere. And so as a Chiefs fan, it's like, well, it's about our team, so I guess I'm not too upset about it. But at the same
Right.
time, I can, as opposing fans, who probably do not like most middle-aged guys that watch football, they're probably not big Taylor Swift fans. So
Yeah.
I can definitely understand where they're coming from.
I mean, besides Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce obviously did not have a 1,000-yard season this year. He did look kind of off and on. He did have the injuries. I mean, he was in the injury bug this year. But it was kind of weird watching because he had a lot of drops. I mean, it
Something that
was
I'm not used to seeing, right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was tough to
one of those
watch.
seasons, I guess. I
I mean,
know, I know.
maybe it was Taylor Swift, maybe it wasn't. But
Yeah, yeah.
obviously, people were saying he should retire. There's some people saying he should retire. They were saying maybe age was a problem for him. Um, what were you kind of thinking with him? Because obviously he was up and down the whole year. What were you expecting from him in the playoffs?
Yeah. You know, I guess with the regular season at least, it was definitely a tough watch. I didn't really have a specific reason. I personally thought it itself was he was getting a bit slower. I guess he was
Yeah,
kind of I heard him say on his podcast that all the bumps and bruises and everything, it takes a toll on you after the years, and it kind of sounded like he was interested in retiring
right.
over this podcast. And when I heard that clip, and I was kind of on the implication that he would retire within probably maybe not this year, maybe next year or very within the next 2 or 3 years probably.
Right.
But I guess So, I was hoping he, bounce back, and it seems like through the playoffs, he's found himself more as a leader. I saw another thing that says that, when when the receivers drop the ball, it's always Travis that goes out there and takes, he gets
Yeah.
onto him. He really lets him hear it. So, he's definitely got that playoff veteran experience. So
Yeah.
I guess, that intuition kicks up, and I guess it's really a whole different time. And I think that's one of the most important things, and I think he's definitely got that. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
reason for his bounce back, I would say.
Yeah. And obviously, with Travis Kelce comes Isaiah Pacheco, and that guy, man, he's just like a spark plug. He's just a guy that comes in and just goes nuts. He's like a bomb, like
Yeah,
not in a bad way, but like he just comes in
I
and
give a
just
shit.
yeah,
He's
he
very
just
explosive. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and he
yeah.
just comes in and he just plays amazing. And
Mhm.
um, so for the game for the Super Bowl game, do you want them to do more run pass? I mean, run options or like more pass options? What are you trying to? What do you think they should do game plan wise?
Yeah, so I think of course, I would say the Ravens have the number one overall defense. Of course, whether it came to definitely run defense, 100% run defense, and pass defense was good. It was still really good. So it wasn't like, it was definitely a tough game to run against. And of course, I think Chicago only had like 40 something yards, so
Yeah.
it ended up showing. But I think for this upcoming game, I don't really recall. I know San Fran, of course, is a good D, and I would assume they have a better run D because they've got Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw. They've got a good front. So I would assume that they would probably be a better run defense than a pass defense. But
Mhm.
so I would say, thinking, taking into accounting that, one is stronger than the other, I would say probably they'd lean a bit more towards passing. Of course, you can't get rid of the run game, and I think that's definitely start the tone off. Push it with a couple rushes at the beginning, see kind of how the defense is responding, and then I think to a certain point, you kind of throw them off and start. I guess that's kind of the typical game plan that the Chiefs do. If they start with runs and then they kind of start to hit some passes after, like as a
Yeah.
surprise. And so I think that's kind of what they need to do, test it out. But ultimately, of course, in the end, you're going to end up in every clutch moment, you're going to end up giving it to Mahomes in this. So I think they
Right. Yeah.
keep sticking with what they're doing in the playoffs. It's obviously working.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahomes obviously is going to be the big game plan for the 49ers defense. Um, but from the 49ers side, without the bias, what do you think they need to do to overcome the Chiefs defense? Because obviously they have a lot of weapons, but that defense is creeping up and becoming one of the best and probably maybe the best so far in the postseason.
I definitely one of the Chiefs defense, of course, is definitely it's a pass heavy defense. Or I'm sorry, pass defense. It's their pass defense is a good, a pretty good amount better than their run defense.
Yeah.
We don't really have too many big bodies that we play consistently. We have typically more of a pass rush. D lineman, and of course, so not a lot of run stoppers. And so I would say they would definitely, you got McCaffrey, the best running back in the league. So if they're gonna win the kind of win the game as well, they need to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, play more. I guess do a lot more rushing. Cut time off. They need like 7, 8. They need like 7 minute probably drives. They really need to keep them going, and then they need to score every time because I think if they start, if they get down and they're relying more on passing, I guess deeper, like 40 plus yard passes or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit more difficult, but I know the Chiefs are also pretty vulnerable to passing out to both. I think I know it's running backs. I know pass catching running backs give them a lot of problems, and because I think our linebackers aren't super fast, and I assume Willie Gay would be back now, but we have kind of a couple injuries to our defense now and offense
Yeah.
as well. So I think that would probably be the key to do, the key to stopping the Chiefs off or defense is probably just
Yeah.
running with McCaffrey.
Yeah, with Brock Purdy too. I mean, he's looking like a great. I mean, he's been a great player all year, but um, he's had some struggles in the playoffs as we've seen with the Packers game and the Lions game. So, what do you think the defense needs to do to maybe stop him from being just a solid quarterback? What do you think they need to do to find the holes in his game?
Um, Man, that's actually, I would actually have to look something up. I just want to see Purdy
Yeah.
against the blitz and against
Oh, yeah.
Purdy against the blitz. I just want to see like his stats because I don't know. Okay, so he's got a pretty good. Yeah, I guess so. He I guess responds to pass rush and blitz pretty well. So I guess if we bring more, which something that the Chiefs, Spags he really likes to do
Right.
is he likes to do secret blitz from like the safety or from the corner.
Right.
So I think if Purdy is able to find, like what he's supposed to do and throw to where the blitzer is coming, I guess coming from, I think that'll definitely give him. That's definitely something the Chiefs need to keep in mind is when blitzing. And I
Yeah.
guess I know the 49ers offensive line isn't as good as the Ravens was or the Bills was, or I think they've got a couple holes like one of their two other players. But I think they need to if they do blitz, they need to of course not go against Trent Williams and
Right.
let Purdy,
Yeah.
let Purdy, give Purdy time and everything.
Yeah.
Because that's when Debo gets open or Kittle is open somewhere deep, and so
Right.
I think they need to cut him off and really get to the quarterback quickly. And I think Purdy definitely needs to utilize McCaffrey as a pass catcher as well as
Yeah.
just go for more
Short
checkdowns
passes.
because of course they've got yards after catch guys. They're all all guys who will get 15 yards after catch if you give them the
Yeah.
ball. So I think he just needs to get the ball out quickly and of course beat the blitz.
Yeah. Which player on the 49ers right now offensively are you most afraid of maybe controlling the game and taking over, you know, the
Yeah,
Chiefs defense?
it's definitely McCaffrey. It would, yeah, of course, with our weakness being pass defense and
Yeah.
him, of course, being the best at what he does as of now. I think that it's definitely the main focus. I think for the Chiefs defense on top of the other ones, but I think McCaffrey would probably be the number one focus.
Yeah. I think McCaffrey probably he's gonna have probably the biggest game plan against him because he can just do so much. And then
He's very good.
obviously Debo Samuel and Ayuk
Mhm.
are both amazing after the catch, and George Kittle too with the blocking. He's one of the best in the league in that
They
department.
they're all good at blocking. I think they've got some of the best blocking receivers, blocking tight end. Of course, just all their whole game plan is really they've got a lot of good blocking downfield, and you always see the fullback and the tight ends. They're always doing great jobs pulling and
Yeah.
blocking off cornerbacks. So the Chiefs need to get prepared to shed those blockers and make a tackle if they're gonna make stops
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say making tackles is gonna be one of the biggest things that they have to do against the offense. Um, so coming down to the wire of this game, Aiden, what is your prediction for this game? I'd like to hear what you have to say for it.
yeah. Of course, I'm gonna have to. It's obvious, but I'm gonna have to go Chiefs win. It's not gonna be. It's definitely. I would not be shocked if the 49ers won. Of course, they have what I think is the best roster. So, in theory, they should win with the better roster. But
Right.
I think, especially, no, you're good. I think, especially with, I guess, the Chiefs being, I'm very good when it comes to big games like this. I think Chiefs probably it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. I'd
Yeah.
go like 24-20 maybe or something like that. Or
Okay.
20, yeah, something around there. It's not a perfect score, but yeah, something 26-23. I'll go final score. Yeah, there you go. 26-23 final score. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go
Interesting.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. For me, what I'm thinking about is can the Chiefs overcome the defense, the 49ers defense? Can the 49ers be consistent and score, consistent drives and not have any turnovers? Because when Purdy plays great, no turnovers. When he doesn't play great, a couple interceptions, maybe a fumble.
Yeah.
So it honestly, it's gonna be a defensive game, like you said, because both defenses are amazing. I mean,
Mhm.
great players on both sides.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's gotta sound weird, but without my father here, of course, 49ers fan.
I was hoping he'd be on here. I needed someone to talk
I
against. I want to see
asked
what he
him,
says.
yeah, I asked him, he
Oh,
said he's working right now, so he can't.
work. I mean,
Yeah.
which one's more important, really? I mean, get on here and talk. You can get on here, talk some 49ers
Right,
Super Bowl with me.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking from that perspective and Patrick Mahomes and what he's done. I
Mm.
think it's gonna be Chiefs, like I said, probably 24-21. is what I'm
All
gonna
right.
say.
That's a good, that's about what we're thinking, kind of the same. So,
Yeah,
glad both of us have the Chiefs winning at least.
yeah,
It'll make it, yeah, it'll make the win feel better if you're preparing for it. So
right.
hopefully
And
that's how it
honestly,
happens.
if 49ers win, dude, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm not.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm gonna be heartbroken for a couple days. Probably don't text me. I'll be crying. But the Bucks one hurt pretty bad when we lost to them, and I'm sure
yeah.
this will feel pretty similar. But
Do you have
I'm
any
glad at least we won
friends
enough.
or people
Yeah,
that are like super big 49ers fans besides Big Rob, or
yeah,
you do?
yeah. I've got of course, besides your dad, I've got one buddy who goes to OSU, and he's a big 49ers fan. I don't know. I don't know if he follows up. I assume he follows up on it more now this season. He typically does the thing when they're good, he'll follow up on them, and
Yeah,
when they're not, he goes into hibernation. But he's definitely excited for it. And so we've talked some smack, but
yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good game no matter what. It'll be a
Does
rematch. So
yeah, does Ryan and Liam have any predictions? Have they told you what they're
I
thinking
actually
about?
know I haven't talked to him yet, but of
Okay.
course, obviously, the whole family's a bit of a Chiefs fan. Being from the area and all. So we probably, I guess, my mom. She's besides my mom. Yeah, I think probably me, my dad, my brother, all would say Chiefs. My mom, 49ers fan. So yeah,
Gotcha.
so it's funny. My mom, she got big into football now, and she's a big 49ers fan. So
Yeah, she's fancy. She's playing fancy now, right?
yeah, she won
Yeah.
again. She won her league both years in a row now.
That's crazy.
I
That's
know.
crazy.
I think she started like 0-4 or something and ended up winning the whole thing. I guess she was happy about that. So
Yeah,
she
I
loves
mean,
it.
you guys have amazing luck. I'll just say that. But
Hey, best way to play. We'll take it. I think
yeah,
unfortunately, we didn't get the chance to win I didn't get the chance to win the league this year.
right.
But I played three leagues, so the losses hurt less because you had the other
Right.
two, and if you won, and I won the my big money league, so at
Of
least that
course.
one
Yeah.
went well.
Yeah.
So if we don't win this one, you might as well take the big money one.
How are you feeling about next year's fantasy draft? Have you had like any ideas of who you think about picking or what any strategies or
And I would say it's the same thing that I think of when I get excited for the NFL draft. Like I'll start doing my research, I guess, but I start really looking into it and following it a lot more. I think probably about a month and a half away, and so I think it's starting once the Super Bowl's gone. Then I start looking forward to the NFL draft, and that's
okay.
kind of all I have to look forward to. And then I would say fantasy football. I will probably start looking at it probably late July, early August, I
Yeah.
think, is probably when I typically start looking at it. But hopefully,
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be too busy, but I'll definitely be able to stay
Yeah.
and in touch with everything fantasy related.
Yeah, we should definitely do a mock draft if you're down
All
for
right, yeah,
NFL.
whenever if we do another one around like July, August, yeah, definitely text me because I love doing mock drafts. Well, I could do those all day. So I
Yeah.
think I one day I literally did do them all day. So
Yeah, and
it's
also for the NFL draft, maybe if Caleb Williams, wherever he's gonna go, that's a big conversation right now.
yeah,
Uh
yeah.
where do you think about that? Because that's a big topic. I mean, people were saying,
It's
you know, maybe Commanders.
yeah, that's there's a lot of different possibilities. It's like always with the first overall pick. Let me think. I know it's Chicago, and I think Chicago's one, and then is it New England at two, or is it?
Either New England or let me check.
I'll pull it up. I guess I have
Yeah.
my computer right here. Yeah. Sorry if that
NFL.
was loud. My fault. I have my keyboard like right next to it.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. Oh wow, two is the command. Wait, what? Tell me this is not like a mock draft. Yeah. Okay.
So it says Bears, Commanders, and then Patriots. Yeah.
But yeah, Bears, Commanders, Patriots. Yeah, you're right. That is interesting. I guess Bears will I mean, unless they end up taking Caleb Williams, which I highly doubt, which I don't know why they really would.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's no reason for them to restart again with a new
Yeah.
quarterback. I think that it's time to build around Fields. Give him a good line, give him give him one more receiver in the second or third round that's solid for
Yeah.
behind DJ Moore. I
Yeah.
think they need to use one of their picks on the lineman, and I think they need to start revamping that defense to
Yeah.
really get in there. But I think that's kind of they're a wide receiver two, a lineman or two, and half a defense off from being a contender. And I think they need to trade this pick away to the Commanders. I think is what would probably be most
Yeah.
likely. I think Commanders, especially with signing was it Cliff? Yeah, they signed Cliff as their
Yeah,
OC.
Cliff Kingsbury.
See that? Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's more signs pointing towards them really wanting to take Caleb out, with whatever
Right.
pick they can get.
And Caleb's, his IG story, he had congrats to Cliff Kingsbury, of course. So it's looking like
DC area too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from DC. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's everything
So
kind of. Yeah.
it's looking like Commanders Caleb Commander.
I'd be okay with that. I would definitely be okay with that.
Or I mean, maybe Patriots come into play. I mean, I know they got the third pick. They could trade up. That's a possibility, but I don't know if Kraft and Mayo, the new head coach, would be willing to do that. So,
I mean, I think they'd be smart too, but I'm sure they'll be fine with taking Drake May at wherever they land.
Yeah, that's probably the best pick for them, I think, right now. But Aiden, thank you for coming on today, man. I really appreciate it. Predictions, I'll be keeping in touch with you about that. Hopefully, 49ers, Chiefs. I'm not picking either side, but if I had to, I'm picking Chiefs.
Okay. Good to know. I'll remember that.
Just with everything, it's Patrick Mahomes and everything. So, but you got anything else to say to the fans out there, to the Man Viewers podcast fans?
No, I appreciate you having me on, of course, and I think this is gonna be a good Super Bowl. You should definitely have me on in the future when we do a mock draft, and we'll love to get your dad in here. But of course, I wish tell him I said hi. I wish he was on here. We could do a little back and forth on the game, and so. But it's a great time. So thanks for having me. It's always fun.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening, and please hit the subscribe button, like the video down below, and join the Man Fever Podcast gang.